All right, how's it going, people? Let's get this started. Let me share my screen. Entire screen. My screen. Let me turn off my volume. Sorry about the echo. All right, there we go. So I think today what we're going to do is go over the knife stand, and I finished it up, at least this iteration of it. So I'm going to kind of go backwards through it, and this is the final version. Well, at least the final iteration of this. We may make changes. I'm going to have some made up and tested, and see if what changes may need to be made or improvements. But basically, it's just 3 millimeter basswood cut from a 12 by 12 sheet, all cut on a laser, so that when they are offered for sale, she'll offer engraving service. Also, there will be a base price for the stand. I'm not sure about the colors. I know that there are different colors. I don't know if she stains them or if they come in the wood, if she purchases it in different colors. But there will be a price for the stand, then there will be a price for each engraving that you want. So if you wanted like the top, which is completely visible, even if all 6 knives were on here, the bottom front, you could do a logo there. And this is pretty tall, so a knife wouldn't cover up most of this, so you could have that engraved. This would be partially covered up if you had a knife on here. But either way, you could have them all engraved if you wanted, but it'll be a little extra for each engraving. You could have the sides engraved, I'm assuming. But when you didn't have knives on it, everything would be visible. So if you were like displaying this at a flea market or a knife show or something, and you were selling the knives, it might empty up and expose places where you might want to have a logo. Anyway, that's up to you and the person who will be making and selling these. Anyway, I wanted to go through a couple issues, or at least design strategy that I had when designing this. And I started with this side piece knowing that I wanted a step design that knives could lay on. I mean, we've all seen the 3D printed versions of this, which are nice, and most of them are more sturdy. This one is bigger than most of the ones I've seen, and it'll lay flat. It'll probably ship in a padded envelope, I'm assuming, or a thin box. Um, won't weigh much, and the cost will be pretty reasonable. Let me open up the. This is where I started, and while designing it, I wanted to keep in mind. I knew I wanted to cut this out of a piece of 12 by 12, so I knew that I wanted this piece and the other side, the left hand and right hand sides, to fit together. So I had to make this length the same as this length, so they could be nested together, and that could be like one rectangle to cut that out. These lengths changed because every little tweak you make changed. I put 6 shelves on here, so I had to tweak these a lot while I was going. So I had an idea, I sketched it up, then I just started tweaking. This is blue because it's not constrained, so I could move this, and we don't want that. So what we would want to do is add a dimension here just to lock this in so it wouldn't move. And now you see that it's all black, it's not blue. So this should be fully constrained or close to it. Yeah, I think everything, there's no more blue, so it's fully constrained. Now, the methods that you use for constraining things all vary a little bit. So my primary job function was not creating mechanical parts, so there may be things that I'm not doing the way someone more experienced with mechanical assemblies and parts would do it. But this is what I got. So I knew that these had to be 3 millimeters because the material is 3 millimeters thick. And this could be adjusted slightly, you know, if if the material wasn't consistent, you might want to make this a little tighter or a little looser based on how the material comes in. But originally I just had a brace on top, on bottom, and the front. And the person that's making these for me, or is making these, suggested adding a brace in the center. I decided to put it on this same angle just so it looks, I think it's, you know, if you put a logo on there or something, it would look better. So anyway, once that was done, and I put them together, started tweaking, I made the side braces. I originally made these 6 inches long, knowing that out of that other pattern, you could get 2 of them cut on one board. Originally, though, uh, let me show you how to create a flat pattern, or let me show you the flat pattern that I created. And the way this was created, I had to rebuild that. I think it's because I added that dimension up here, so it wasn't locked in. Now it's locked in. So anyway, after I created all the parts, I just created this assembly by bringing in each part. So I brought 2 of these sides in, and then you use the move or the mate to mate them together. And actually, I guess we could walk through that process. Let me start a new one. New assembly. You want to insert component. Let's do a sideboard. Hit the check mark. That's inserted. Let's insert another one. Another sideboard. Oh, I don't know if that brought it in. Oh yeah, they're both here. So then you'll want to select one and rotate it. And I want to, instead of a free drag, I'll do a rotation around an axis. And the Z axis is the one that I want to rotate on. And so I'll go over here and rotate it 180 degrees on the Z axis. Apply that. I didn't select the component. Selected component is fixed. I think the first one I brought in was fixed, so clear selections. There are ways to select it. Oh, I should have selected it from the tree. So let's try this again. Move component, rotate about the Z 180. That didn't work. Let me select the second one. I think the first one is fixed. Move component, rotate. About Z, 180. Apply. Well, now it's asking me to select it. Yeah, I'm not sure why this isn't working. Let me see if I can get rid of some. I don't know where the fix is. How's it going, Gonzo? Yeah, this is a nice stand. I'm going backward through the design to show a couple of the ways I did it, if I can figure it out. It's saying that it's fixed, but I'm not sure why. What I'm trying to do right now is rotate. Select component is fixed. There should be two here, so I'm not sure how you select one of the two. That's not selecting it. Select a component and enter the desired. But it's not letting me select it. I have two of them stacked up. That's the problem. Let me try this again. Let's back up. There. Now I only have one in here, so I'm going to just rotate it before I bring the other one in, since I don't know how to change this selection. Something I have to look up. Why is it not letting me select it? Let's exit out of this. Maybe it'll let me insert a component. Sideboard. So there. Now we'll rotate this component 180 degrees along the Z-axis. Apply, check mark. Now we want to use the mate function, and I want to mate this face with this face. Hit the check mark, completes that. Then I want to mate this face parallel to this face. Hit the check mark to complete that function. Now I can do that face to this face. I'm done with those. So now a drawing can be created from this to cut this out if this were the only part we were using. But we want to bring the side boards in also, insert component, or I mean the stringers. And you can move around. And it's kind of, if you're looking like this, the part moves on the same plane it is, but just in this direction. But then you can change the view. It'll stay locked in there, and you can move it this way. It's kind of neat. But since we're moving it around, we'll do the same thing and rotate this part 90 degrees on the y-axis. Apply that. So this one's facing up, so we'll put that on the bottom. So this is 12 inches, and this is 9 or 8 something. I forget the dimensions exactly. But we'll finish that. Now we can move this closer to where we want it just to make it easier. Finish that, and we can do the mate component. We want to mate this surface with this surface. Complete that. Make this surface with this surface. Complete that. And then this surface. And the first one you select is the one that moves. I think this wasn't as fixed, so if I do this, it shouldn't. It'll probably move. These are now mated together, so these will move together. But you want to select the one that you want to move first and finish. So now I have that, and I put this way because the laser is going to come down here, and it just keeps all the laser path together. You don't want to have the laser cut the outside, because then you're cutting into your whatever your backer material is on your laser cutter. And it usually doesn't hurt. It's usually just scrap plywood or a honeycomb stand. But this just makes more sense. And if I really, really wanted to get into it, I could put this slot and this slot together so that it just makes one rectangular cut. But as simple as this design is, we're not going to get into that just yet. I see we got some more guests. Thanks for stopping in. Let's see. Hello, Marco and Gonzo. Hey, Caleb. Hope you're feeling better today. How's it going? Illuminati Ninja. Knives Are Life. Thanks, everyone, for stopping in. Hopefully it's not too boring. How's it going, Kane Miranda? And I'm just showing this. I'll go back to the completed stand once I do finish this up. I'm just showing how to create the flat assembly for cutting. Similarly, if this were sheet metal, you would just unbend this. If this were bent up, if this were bent up 90 degrees, you would just do an unbend and make everything flat for cutting out the base piece. Then you'd put this in the brake and make your bends, so forth. But we're back on insert. Bring another stringer in. Put it there. Let's just bring them all in now. And those are all the pieces of the nightstand or knife stand. When you make a drawing, you could put a format on there and have your list of item list, bill of material, and you could get into describing them. This is just a visualization finish. I didn't actually apply material. or I may have, but you can apply materials in such a way that good software programs, you could get the total weight, estimate the mass and everything once you're all done. So let's go back to the mate. Instead of rotating this first, I'm just going to try mate and see what we get. I'm going to mate that surface with this surface. Yeah, see, that rotates it. Hit the check mark to finish that. Mate this surface with this surface. It's not really mating the surfaces, it's mating the plane of the surfaces. We can mate this with this. Finish that. Now we have the bottom complete. This one, I want to mate this surface with this, so that these cutouts are facing along the already necessary cut line. Finish that. Mate this surface with this. That one's done. Now this one, we want to mate this surface here. And I picked the edge, so it just lined up the edges. But we can do this. And this is kind of hidden, so there's ways to select hidden edges, but instead I'll just do the easy way. Pick these surfaces. And since these are all made to exact dimensions, they're mated already. So here you would go and create your drawing, and I'm not going to show that. It's a little bit of a process, but what I will do is, I think it'll let me open up one that I created. Let me finish this. That's how I created the flat pattern. But let's open up, this is the drawing, and you see it just shows, I didn't build a format for a revision block, or most drawings you'll have your revision block here, Rev A, and you can do number, whatever your revision system you decide to set up. Rev A, you could do a Rev Dash for unreleased, and then at my last company, that's how we did it, or couple companies ago, and then Rev B for the next revision, and put a description so someone looking at the latest drawing knows what changes were made. But this is item 1 is the sideboard, and it shows you that you have a quantity of 2. Item 2 is the stringer or brace, whatever you want to call it, and the quantity of 4. Now this, you could DXF this, you can create this drawing. I haven't figured out exactly what format is best for the laser cutter. I haven't set my laser cutter up yet, and I didn't really get into detail with the person I had do this, but she was able to do it from, I created a drawing, a separate drawing that's just the DXF of just the flat pattern, and she was able to use it. I don't know if she had to convert it to vectors. Should have already been vectors, but that's this. This is what I sent her. Or this is actually, yeah, this is actually a SolidWorks version of it, but I sent her the basic drawing of the flat pattern, and the laser just goes and cuts along all these lines. And we'll go back to, I don't know how, let's just close these. A few things I need to look up, but I guess I'll just open it again. So that was the finished product. And she's, let me, hang on 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to take a drink of water and cough. But I should have some photographs of the finished product. Nice. Knife stand. This is what it looks like cut out and slapped on a table. It's a little tall. I wanted bigger because, like I said, I won a 3D printed one from someone, and most of my knives won't actually fit on it very well because it has little humps to retain things for keep them from falling out. I didn't do that on this design just because it's at such an angle that you could shake this table pretty hard and things aren't going to just fall off of there. I don't know if that's something people would want or not. If if they would want a little U shape to hold knives in there, but these are really long shelves. Most pocket knives will just fit in a little corner up here and it'll be pretty sturdy. But the price is going to be pretty reasonable. And like I said, I believe she can ship them in a flat padded envelope. 12 by 12 at the most. I'm not sure. I'm going to have her ship me some prototypes and then we'll see what cost might end up being like. Here is the stand with some knives on it. And I'm not sure how to show this with, oh, there we go. But there it is with some of her knives. We're going to have to hook her up with some better knives. Not that these aren't cool. I'm pretty sure she actually throws knives. But she's not necessarily a knife person that I know of. She may be. I have no idea. But one of the things I want to have evaluated is how these little notches work out for people. It looks like they're clearly not, the edge of the knife clearly isn't sitting on anything. So not that you're going to damage it much with basswood, but I don't know if these might need moved in or out because this kind of puts the knife at more of an angle, which may be good actually so that it's more secure on the table. If someone bumps your table or something, you don't want the knives all just falling off, especially if you're at a show and had nice ones. But let me see if I get a different angle of that. Yeah, you can see that they're laid back pretty far. I don't know. Put in the comments what you think about this if you're watching after the live. Say how much you hate it and how wrong I did. That's fine. Any interaction is appreciated. So let me go back to the chat. Marco's putting everyone's links in there. Thank you for that, Marco. Everyone go subscribe to all these if you're not already. I think most of us know each other, but I forget if I left the live chat on so people watching later can go. If you can't pick the link later, just look at these channel names and go there and subscribe. Build the community. Caleb, Lives of Life, Illuminati Ninja, and Gonzo. I thought I saw a question. Caleb, is that a question for me? Did I learn this at school or on the fly at work? So, back when I went to school, I learned mostly just 2D drawings. And I actually was probably in one of the last classes in my school to do manual drafting classes. So the basic engineering principles, design principles, I did learn at school. This software, actually, I just got this software, so I'm learning it now. But basically, I went to school for a little while. I didn't get a degree because it cost too much to go to school and work full time. It was just a little rough on me. So I went and got a contract job at General Motors, Packard Electric, and I did 2D wiring harness drawings for pretty low wages, $7.25 an hour, which was pretty low, even in 1995 or something like that. Yeah, I think it was 95 because we designed the 99, the new style GM truck, the harnesses for it. But I was there for a couple months and I realized that I was a contractor making less money than the direct employees there. They started at like $15 an hour back then, which was decent, especially for the union workers making uh, with all the benefits also. That was just their hourly salary. But I learned what I could there and then went up to GM and worked at the truck product center and General Motors. And while I was working there, Boeing came out to Lansing, Michigan and had a recruiting drive. So I called a friend of mine that was still working at the first place I worked, and he came up, stayed at my place, and we carpooled out to Lansing. Both of us got hired on the spot, offers on the spot, and went out to Boeing in 1996. And this is probably boring, but yes. So I started on Unigraphics, which was Pro software. Then that's what I used at Packard and General Motors. Then out at Boeing, we went to CATIA V4, and that one I started learning on my own while I was there because they didn't have training set up for anyone. We were all hired for a big project. Eventually, we had training, and I worked on CATIA for many years. I came down and worked at Freightliner Truck, uses the same software. So I bounced around between Boeing and Freightliner in contract positions for a while. So it's a combination. I learned the basics in school. Most of the software you learn by doing it. And this software, if you pick this up, still, I think, is it July 22nd? It's either the end of the month or until July 22nd. It's only $24 a year. And there's a version that you can use on tablets and Android apps, I believe, or devices, or iOS devices, because it's all cloud based. I have the the PC based version myself, but you can get PCU or cloud version. So there is that. I'm gonna have that made. I'm gonna send some out to people to test. How's it going, Robin Down? Hey, Baptism. Robin's up in Seattle, the home of Boeing. I'm in Portland right now, and I just applied for another job at Boeing because I am unemployed at the moment. So if I get that, it'll be up in Everett. And I don't know why I wouldn't get it because I have all the experience they need. But you never know. The economy is a little bad. There's a lot of people out there, so The only problem with not having a degree and being in this field is that why not hire the guys that have degrees? I can't blame the company for that. Although my last company, I had it pretty good just because the person that hired me was someone that I worked with at different jobs, and he knew my skills. And my last position was actually as a design engineer, even though I don't have a degree, just based on my experience. I mean, I have 30 some years experience by now. I started in 1990. I actually first started, even before I went to school, I first started doing 2D drawings in AutoCAD working for my dad. So my dad was a design engineer, and he was a workaholic. He definitely has a lot better work ethic than I do. But at one point, he had 3 full-time jobs, and he would go in on Mondays to one job, get all the work for the week. The rest of the week, he would work at the other job, and the third job, they just sent him stacks of work, and he would do markups, and I would just do the drawings, crank them out on AutoCAD and MicroStation. So he was making like 30, $40 an hour for all of these jobs, and I was making $5 an hour, which is fine with me because he gave me a place to stay and food, and $5 an hour untaxed. It's good enough for me at that time. I only needed beer money. But I'm probably not going to go too long today. I don't know. Is there anything else anyone wants to take a look at? Painfield. No, I won't be at Painfield, but close. Actually, I don't know where they'll be doing the project. If it'll be probably in the main factory or one of the towers up there, one of the engineering buildings, or I don't know. I haven't been there in a while, so I'm not sure. I think for some projects they were doing out in Mukilteo at some buildings they had there, and I don't know what buildings they still own or use. But hopefully I'll hear from them soon. If not, I'll figure something else out. I should be able to go to Gulfstream and work. Um, let's open up the knife just for the fun of it. I don't know. This looks like the last one. I haven't done anything more on this other than that assembly. I created that one side scale. I might, I don't know. I'm half tempted to actually make this an actual thing and have someone water jet this out and try to find someone that I could commission, put some bevels on it, heat treat it, and stuff like that. Actually make a real knife out of it, just for the fun of it. No intention to market this or anything like that. But it would be cool just to have, something you design made into a product. Am I right? Plus, I kind of like this. Like I said, I made a full length handle for an extra large handle fit on here nicely, and a nice short blade just because it's I want it to be utilitarian. So, you know, big giant blades are great too, but sometimes you just want to do some, more precision work on things. Yeah, I'm sure I could find someone that would be willing to do it. I mean, or buy a grinder, you know what I'm saying? So if I send this to a company and have the basic shape cut out, then all that needs done is finishing up the edges, putting a bevel on it, which will be the hard part. I'd probably find someone that makes The little angle stands for putting the blade on and grinding at the exact angle. Might just invest in that. If I go ahead and invest in a grinder, I would invest in one of those also. And this jimping I made, I don't have to necessarily follow this. Well, I guess I could have this water jetted out, and then you just have to soften up the edges a little bit so that you don't, you don't want people to get cuts or abrasions. Or I could take this jimping off, and I have a 20 line per inch checkering file that I could just put jimping on using that. Amazon has them for $35. Talking about jimping file, or are you talking about a grinder, Caleb? Or I could make a drawing out of this, put it on a piece of steel, and use a grinder to cut it out. It would not be this nice. Water jet would definitely be the way to go. Oh, the grinding jig. Cool. I haven't even looked there. I was just thinking, like, I don't know if you ever watch Walter Sorrells. I know he made some. I don't know if he made any to sell, but he showed how to make one. I don't have a welder. I don't have a drill press, which is probably why I wouldn't even bother. I don't know if I want to buy all this equipment until I know if I'm going to have to move away or not. But it would be fun. And it would definitely be funner doing it yourself if it comes out okay. It would suck if you do it yourself and it gets really messed up. So maybe I'd have to have like a dozen blanks made and hopefully get one to get one presentable. But I still need to finish up the scales. I want to revisit. I designed some. Let me open the assembly. If I still have it in here. What am I looking at? I should have named it better. These are all. Oh, here's the assembly. I should put assembly in the name. Let's rebuild this with the latest version. I created the assembly with before I made a bunch of changes. So when you rebuild it, it just brings in the parts that you changed. Like these. I need to constrain these to be exactly centered, but for now I just did that. Oh, I must not have saved the scale. Oh well. Or did I? Let's try to insert component. Connector are those little connectors. Yeah, I didn't save the scale. So if I do that, I'll have to restart. But I modeled these after existing parts that you can just go buy. I don't want anything that needs to be custom made if where possible. And I'd also need to look at, I put clearance holes in here, so I might want tight holes so that these actually need to be pressed in. I have to look at all of that. Those are things I haven't really thought about. I'd want to talk to a knife maker about that and see what the best method is. But there are screws that fit these. I want it to look decent. And I don't know how, I may not define the scales, and if I have a maker do it, they can just grind the scales to fit, per their taste and how it ends up being ground. It's not like I would have them molded or anything, so, or machined by machine, by mill or anything. I'd just pay someone. They could, these might be too big. I need to talk to someone about all that, help me pick out the hardware. And Caleb has made 5 knives and 2 came out okay. Have you shown them on your live streams, Caleb? If not, you should, even if they didn't come out okay. Marshall wasn't afraid to show his first knife design, first built knife. Everyone has to start somewhere, are you right? And I think it's even better when you can pull out something that looks like crap and say, look, this is where I started, and then pull something out that looks pretty nice and say, this is where what my talents have evolved. So anyway, I'm probably going to wrap this up. It's been about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Thursday, I'll probably do a stream Thursday. I'm thinking about trying to do a vertical live, out on my patio or something, if it's not 100 degrees out there. Just to give it a try. Show off maybe one of my knife cases, break one out and just go through some of the knives in it. Possibly. Or I might just do CAD again, but I'm trying to do Mondays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. So for all those watching, if you're not subscribed, please do. Hit like or dislike, just, some interaction. Put good comments or nasty comments in the comments section. And you have a good night too, Caleb, and everyone else. Anyone else that might be left, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. And when I do live Thursday, we'll talk about another giveaway. I probably won't do one on Thursday, but I got a few items I can give away soon. Talk to you all later. Take care.